We were looking at the steady state in the Solow model, which is the long-run outcome of the Solow model. And in the steady state, like we talked about, capital per worker and output per worker are no longer changing. And then we looked at finding key endogenous variables in the steady state. We started off with finding the steady state capital per worker, where we looked at how to mathematically solve for it and how do we graphically solve for it. So now similarly, we want to find the steady state now output per worker, right? Because the idea is that associated with this level of capital per worker, right, the steady state level of capital per worker is a steady state level of output per worker. We already found graphically and mathematically the steady state capital per worker. Now we want to do the same for the associated level of capital for the associated level of output per worker in the steady state. Mathematically, what you have to do is you have to simply plug in the steady state value of capital per worker K star, which we found earlier, into the per worker production function, right? Y is equal to FK is our per worker production function, where output per worker is a function of capital per worker. So to find Y star, you just plug in K star in your per worker production function. So Y star is FK star. So once you've found the steady state level of capital per worker, it's very easy to find the steady state level of output per worker, as all you have to do is plug in K star in your per worker production function to get Y star. Graphically, how do we find the steady state level of output per worker? So Y star is read off our per worker production function corresponding to K is K star in the Solow diagram. In the Solow diagram, we discussed that K star occurs at the intersection of the depreciation per worker line and the investment per worker curve, right? So the steady state level of output per worker will just be read from the per worker production function, which is given to us as the output per worker or per worker production function corresponding to K star in the Solow diagram. If this is the steady state level of capital per worker at the intersection of the depreciation per worker line and the investment per worker curve. So corresponding to this value of K star, we can read off the value of Y star from our per worker production function, because remember that tells us output per worker, right? So this is Y star corresponding to K star in our Solow diagram. So in this way, we can find the steady state output per worker mathematically and graphically.